Mahomes at bay. The Tampa Bay Bucs, Super Bowl 55.
Hello and welcome to the Bucs Banter podcast. It is Monday, so you know what that means. We're discussing another Buccaneers victory, and we are back on Bucs Report this Monday evening. We're also on a couple other options, Sports Talk Florida. We're on our usual Bucs Banter pages. Bodan, what's good, buddy? How are you?
Not much, man. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. How you feeling?
Good, man. It's a weird day in Bucs land. I think for most people, even around the NFL. I mean, and just so everyone knows, we'll be joined by Scott momentarily. He's having some technical issues. He'll join us when you can. In case you somehow missed it, or if you did see it, which you most certainly did, I regret to remind you in that case that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were thoroughly outplayed by the depleted New York Jets yesterday afternoon, but managed to come away with the victory as Tom Brady led a full field drive with no timeouts, important to add, that eventually resulted in a 33-yard touchdown pass to Cyril Grayson with just seconds remaining to seal what was a comeback victory. And it's hard to fathom that such a dramatic finish to a football game could actually take the back seat to another headline that arose in that very same game, which, of course, is the Antonio Brown sideline tirade. We all know what happened there. There's been a whole bunch of discourse around the football world in terms of what happened. Lots of reports, right? Everyone wants to have a piece of it. Everyone wants to have some kind of breaking news. But I think it's become clear from reading that not many people know exactly what happened. Here's Cap. I'm going to let Cap in.
I was going to say, we can't. It'd be a shame to do this topic without Cap.
Oh, hey, you know what? I gotta be honest. I'm assuming we're starting with Antonio Brown. Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Happy New Year to you as well, Scott. And yeah, you're bang on, buddy. 1 for 1 on your predictions tonight. Anyone in the comments, anyone who's watching, by the way, let us hear what you think about everything, about all the drama. Just to quickly summarize, again, I know everyone's well aware, but Antonio Brown caused an issue. There was an issue on the sideline. He was talking to Bruce Arians, obviously got agitated to the point where he started taking off his gear. Mike Evans was trying to talk some sense into him, which I'm sure you've all seen the video footage of. Apparently OJ Howard was as well. But there was no stopping AB once he entered that train of thought, as he hopped around and made an ass of himself on his way out, waving to the New York Jets fans. So that was that. I mean, AB is not going to be a Buccaneer anymore, that's for sure. Bruce Arians has said as much. It's recently come out, according to Adam Schefter, that the Buccaneers are pursuing, they're in discussions with the NFL in terms of trying to see if there's some kind of different protocol or procedure they could follow. I guess they feel it's a unique case as opposed to just releasing him outright. My initial thought was, well, there's no harm in at least pursuing what other options exist, because all that would do is take a little more time for him to be able to sign with someone else. Not like I'm in any way close to confident that other teams would be interested. I mean, I saw a report from someone on Yahoo today who's really plugged in, and they had sent out, I think they'd contacted directly 4 teams and received responses, all of which were more or less, fuck no. That was the response in terms of their teams having interest in AB. All of those teams, by the way, he prefaced that by saying were contending teams with the need at that position. So, I mean, I don't blame the Bucs for doing that anyway, just in case. I mean, with the headache that AB brings, despite his undisputed production on the field, he really just, added another notch on that resume, or to his reputation as being a cancer. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to.
Yeah. I was just going to jump in. Can we back up a little bit? Like I was flipping. I'm watching a bunch of games on Sunday. Obviously there's like 15 on at a time this weekend. But did anything happen in the game that AB could have been upset about? Like, was there any type of, he missed him on an open, like, I don't know, Brady, if he misses you, it's on purpose. But like, did you see anything, Collin? I know you were watching it like a hawk. So
Yeah, no, I was watching it like a hawk, obviously. That's what my weeks revolve around, is that 3-hour window where I can just watch football uninterrupted. And that's what I was doing. I didn't notice anything from the TV vantage point. However, I just listened to a interview that a Barstool Sports podcast, Pardon My Take, had with the cab driver who eventually, or Uber driver or whatever, who eventually
No
picked up
way.
AB. And
Unreal.
That's
yeah,
great
and
reporting. Great reporting by those guys.
That is.
honestly, that's, I think, the closest glimpse we're going to get, because this guy was driving
Yeah.
AB. According to him and AB are close. So he's driven for him in the past. I'm sure that just
Okay.
means he's driven for him. It doesn't necessarily mean they're close. But regardless, he was in there while Antonio Brown was in his most, emotional state, I guess. And it was really interesting. I jotted down a couple of direct quotes so I could provide that accurately. So this driver said specifically, when asked why AB was pissed, like, because no one knows, right? That's a big mystery, which is just so ridiculous out of all this.
Yeah.
He said they were down 24-10 and he wasn't getting the ball. Then the coach or someone on the sideline said something to him, and that really flipped his top. And that's verbatim from the driver. That's exactly what he said. So, and there was some speculation from unnamed sources that Antonio Brown was disgruntled by not receiving enough touches. And apparently had words with Tom Brady. Again, I can't substantiate this. We're all just dealing with a web of nothing clear. However, knowing AB and how he is, I mean, it makes a little more sense. Like, there's been people speculating the initial first thing that came out was like, because he was close to, because his contract is so much incentive based, as we've discussed. And he's nearing closer to making those marks to ultimately earn as much as $1 million, depending on his yards and receptions and all that. But that wouldn't have made any sense, because the whole issue is Bruce Arians wanted him to get back in the game, and he didn't want to get back in the game. And then there was people saying that was because AB was hurt. He was saying he was hurt. Well, Bruce Arians addressed that specifically today, and he said I was not told he was hurt. They have a certain protocol they follow when a player's injured. They go through the trainer. Trainer goes to the coach to decipher the injury and explain it. That wasn't what was going on here. So Bruce was clear in saying, he was actually very, in my opinion, diplomatic and respectful of Antonio Brown, saying he still cares about him and he hopes he's well. He's just not a part of this team anymore. But he also was clear in saying that it had nothing to do with an injury. He wasn't aware of an injury, and he wasn't told an injury by Antonio Brown. He asked him to get in the game. AB refused. Bruce Arians ultimately said, well, then get out of here. Like, what's your deal? And Antonio Brown took that literally, and the rest is history as we try to put the puzzles back together.
I just, like, from a macro standpoint, I've never seen anything like that before, right? Like, not on the professional level. I can't think of any guy taking off his jersey in game and leaving.
It's
even
bizarre.
Chris Carter said that, like, the master of getting through to diva wide receivers. He even said he's never seen anything like it. Sorry, Scotty.
It's as bizarre an incident as you'll see. Truly, that isn't like a brawl or something in a football game, right? Like, just an individual like doing that. Yeah. It's so crazy. And then, obviously everything's going on, like the videos spreading online on Twitter, on Instagram, and all that. And the teams are just on the field. You know what I mean? Like, it's during the play or maybe just in between downs, which makes it seem even more surreal. Like, as he's cutting through the end zone to go into the tunnel. You know what I mean? Like, what an absolutely just bonkers situation. Okay. Maybe someone else could get the benefit of the doubt that he was saying he was hurt, and Bruce Arians was saying, no, go in, and AB saying, no, I can't go right now. But come on, man. Like, you have literal incentives in your contract, basically based on these last 2 weeks. I think he needed 55 yards, 8 catches, and a touchdown or something like that. And between all of that, he would have gotten an extra $1 million. Like, this guy knows what he was playing for. He's not getting the ball as much as he liked, and he just lost it. Like, he just absolutely lost it. And he has no leash. He has absolutely no wiggle room to do anything like this. And it's I think even Bucs fans when drawing up what's the most bizarre way for Antonio Brown to get cut from this team or finally wear out his welcome. I don't think anyone's coming up with this, right? Like during a game, it's wild. And then they won, the game. And like that's obviously no one will people might remember because it was such a great throw by Brady, obviously, to take the lead at the end there. But they looked awful. They were playing so bad, right? Like the Jets are basically a high school team, and then this happens, and it fired them up at least a little bit, right? Like it must have. But it's just But sorry,
it fired Brady up.
It fired Brady up. No kidding. And like, there's obviously the very sensitive mental illness kind of halo around all of this about what's going on with Antonio Brown in his personal life, and for sure we can't speculate. I don't know what's going on, right? But like he can't be on a team, unfortunately, right? Like I think it's a little I don't want to just completely kill him because like he's going through something and people are and all of that. That's totally fair, but the way it manifests itself for him via football and how he acts on one of these teams is just unlike anything we've seen, really.
Yeah, I mean, and the wild thing to me is that people are surprised in the football world, and it is Antonio Brown. Like the guy you do expect these outlandish things to potentially happen to or because of, and it's still shocking, right? Like hearing you, Scott, like you're a huge football fan, you followed the league your whole life. I mean, and you're sitting here being shocked, even though it is Antonio Brown. So he really did set a new standard for himself here. It's an unfortunate situation in many ways. And I saw one person in the comments, tons of good comments. I wish I could get to them all.
Thank you.
And I'll try and siphon through them a little bit as we go. But one person was like, enough about AB, move on. Well, we do need to talk about AB, unfortunately, because not only is this TMZ headline, but more importantly, this is a huge hit to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at a position that started this year as arguably the strongest group in the entire NFL. And they've lost 2 top 10 receivers in the league now in the last few weeks between Godwin and Antonio Brown. Mike Evans isn't fully healthy either.
Right?
I think, that was clear. And whether or not he's going to play next week versus the Panthers is a whole nother debate. And I'm curious to hear from the Bucs fans tuned in tonight whether or not they would like to see him play, because he's just over 50 yards or so away, 50 something yards away from his 8th consecutive 1,000-yard receiving season, which is a pretty significant accomplishment. He's already the sole leader of that with the first 7 years, surpassing Randy Moss. But do you want him to play or do you want him to get right? Assuming it's one or the other, because I think, and Bruce said today, if he's fine, he'll play, but if not, we're going to rest him. And that's what I like to hear from Bruce Arians. I mean, I think that kind of goes without saying.
I mean, they couldn't be playing a better team for this to still win a game and maybe not have to play everyone, especially Evans right now. Like Carolina, dumpster fire. And man, they were good. They really had a good start to the season. But if you actually watch their games, it's like Matt Rule is a sneaky as bad as anyone right now. And to be fair, he might be trying to get out of there because maybe he has something lined up in college or something. I don't know exactly, although he probably would have left already, obviously, based on the college vacancies being filled up. But
he's got a pretty wild contract. I don't think he's trying to go to college. I think he's like a 5-year, $60+ million contract with the Carolina.
Okay, well that helps. All right, Bowden, you and your facts. All right. But yeah, he's bad. They're awful. That I unfortunately had the Panthers on Sunday, so I watched that entire Panthers Saints game in quotes, and that was something else. But sorry, I digressing here. It's just a good spot for the Bucs. Very comfy to do what they need to do to win, and get as high a seed as possible. Right now, that Green Bay has the home field locked up.
For sure. And then Rich 0665 says 54 yards. Love Rich is watching us on YouTube right now. Thank
Rich.
you. Thanks for giving me that. Dennis Long Jr. on Facebook says Mike should not play. Goes on.
I would lean that way.
I need Mike at 100%. Sorry. Booma Anderson says I agree if he's not physically ready. Russell on Facebook says Evans needs to rest until playoffs start. Straight up. I mean, I'm with you guys there for sure. And I trust the coaching staff. Like the beauty of it is, Bucs fans, is that as a franchise, we are past the point of needing to worry about individual accolades as the season comes to a close to be kind of what motivates our personnel decisions. No, it's about winning in the postseason, and that's all that should matter. So as frustrating and hard as it is to accept the fact that Antonio Brown won't be a part of this team, especially after the Godwin injury, the reality is that's what this team will be dealing with. And if there's anyone who has proven the ability to elevate those around them, especially at the receiver and skill positioned, it is Tom Brady. And Scott, you mentioned him kind of flicking a switch, like it fired him up in a way when AB went out. I mean, maybe Cyril Grayson, back-to-back 80-yard receiving games, and he looked fantastic after that. I'm not saying he's going to come in and like be some number
replace
two NFL
AB.
Yeah, he's not going to replace AB. But God damn it, if they can, if Brady can find a, like, he's going to throw to who's open, right?
Yeah.
And he's not going to have to worry about anything else. So maybe it can still be done is all I'm saying. Like, this isn't the end of the season for the Buccaneers or anything.
No,
it's a frustrating distraction, but I'd rather it have happened with one regular season game to go still. Enter the playoffs with a new mentality, some security in terms of who's on the field. It's guys you can rely on.
Totally.
That was the point I was going to bring up. Like, the timing of all this is, if it's going to happen, it happened at the best possible time other than like the preseason, right? Like, you're pretty much cemented where you are from, like, you're either going to be the 2 or the 3 seed. And you still have a game to play. So you have a game to get over the whole AB thing. It's horrible, but timing wise, I don't know what else you could ask for as a Bucs fan, honestly, because you've gotten through it before with he hasn't been on the field, and you guys have won games too. So yeah.
Russell on Facebook and Solomon both saying it's Miller times, or at least mentioning Scotty Miller's name. Funny, like, his name keeps coming up, the opportunities keep coming up, and Scotty Miller is just not trusted by this Buccaneers coaching staff for whatever reason, and that's been an interesting development.
He's killing us, fellow Scotties. He's killing us. You know what I mean? Yeah. Scotty Barnes is somehow thriving, but I'm here just crawled up in a hole over Scotty Miller's performance. I don't know what to say. Haven't seen him at the meetings, but anyway.
Shout out to a lot of the other people in the comments as well, beyond those whose comments I pulled up briefly. Will Mann on Facebook, never wanted AB here in the first place. Donna, enough. She was the one who said, enough AB, you want our playoff predictions. We got to see how things shake out. We're going to talk about the NFC playoff picture in a little bit. Barry Gould on Facebook, saying he likes that guy. I want to see him get more gameplay. I assume he's talking Cyril Grayson, but I'm not sure because I'm backtracking here. Joey Fox on Facebook, Ellen Rappaport, lots of people chiming in with some great opinions. Love to hear them, and keep them coming throughout the show. While you're at it, please visit our page on YouTube. Give us a subscription. It helps us a great deal, and we really appreciate that. In terms of the actual game, just a couple things before we move on, because I know we don't want to relive this New York Jets win any more than we have to. But the defense was both sides. It was an awful game. The defense was absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
The defense was embarrassing. And my God, if you don't appreciate Levante David when he's here, you sure as hell gain an appreciation for him when he's not out there. This stout run defense, they were giving up. So Michael Carter had a big run, I forget how long it was. It was like close to 60 yards, like in the first quarter. Anyway, he left the game with a concussion. Okay. So the Buccaneers gave up 5.8 yards per carry to the Jets backup running backs this game. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on with Devin White, but he does not look like the same player from last year.
Nope.
2 tackles.
It's been coming up too often. 2 tackles. 7 tackles total from your 2 inside linebackers. Kevin Minter was awful as well. He was even worse. He had 5 tackles, but he was even worse than Devin White.
7.
Devin White would have 2 tackles in one play last year. Like, he is an insane man. So I don't know what's happened to him either. Like, it's like a body switching situation, like one of those movies where he's swapped with, I don't know, Kevin King or something. It's insane.
It's bizarre. It's so bad. And the Jets, like, it can't be understated. It's not like this was against I don't know, pick a mediocre team like the Raiders or something, right?
Yeah.
Like this was the Jets, whose fans boo them as soon as they get, behind 3-0 in any game at home, right? So this was really eye-opening. Like if you know a team is going to run, and let's face it, a bad team is going to run, and you can't stop them, there's no worse feeling as a football fan, and like I'm sure all Bucs fans were feeling, once it got to 24-10, because it didn't look like they were going to get a stop. At least when we saw that against the Colts, it was the Colts and Jonathan Taylor. You know what I mean? And they did the same thing. They made enough big plays and came back and won because they're really good. But this Jets one was, oh man, what's going on with those linebackers? What's going on with the effort? And just, I'm sorry not to harp on it, but it's the Jets. It's the effing Jets. And I know anything can happen in this league and blah, blah, blah. And that's all fair. But wow, was that bad.
Well, furthermore, the Jets were also depleted at some key positions by injury. But yeah, I mean, still Buccaneers ended up winning. Yes, it's frustrating.
Yes,
but like they're missing so many key guys: Levante David, Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul. They had two guys, two of their starting corners, Sean Murphy-Bunting and Jamel Dean, they showed up like after the game had already started, because they had just cleared COVID protocols. So lots of injuries and instability in terms of like the roster and who's playing where. I mean, the amount of times this starting secondary or projected starting secondary entering the year has played together has been like less than a full game. It's actually utterly ridiculous. So
yeah, it feels like they're never going to all play together, right? Like,
yeah, and but that's all fair.
Like that's all fair. Yeah,
and I'm seeing in the
I have to say it.
Yeah. And I'm seeing in the comments, someone said the Jets played well. The Jets did play well. Like, you know what I mean? But if I don't know how much Jets this guy has watched, not to call him out, but just like their bad is so bad. But they came out flying in the game, and Wilson played well. So, credit where it's due, obviously. But oh man, that was as surprising a result as, I mean, the Bucs still won, but just the fact that was a game was as surprising a result as anything this weekend, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Dennis Long Jr. on Facebook. I miss Shaq. I miss Shaq too. Dennis, I'm with you. But it sounds like I'm hearing rumblings that they're optimistic Shaq Barrett will return for playoffs. People are asking about Levante. I mean, the hope is playoffs for all those guys, but the information isn't in front of us, and I'm sure it's yet to be decided. So we'll see how their rehab goes. They're all dealing with different ailments, and returning for the first week of playoffs would be a short end of that general recovery time based on those injuries. I mean, Barrett has a sprained MCL, I think. I don't know what the deal is with Levante David's foot injury. The lack of information on that has me a little bit worried. Levante David is our most important player on the defensive side of the ball, and it's like I just, the value that guy brings is unbelievable. I already mentioned it. He's incredible. When we play without him, it becomes that much more glaring to me. But hopefully the Buccaneers are at full strength, or at least those guys are good enough to give it a go for the playoffs, because that would be huge.
How are you feeling about your playoff matchup? Can we shift? It seems like a natural time to shift to that kind of a look ahead past the Panthers, as much as I want to talk about Matt Rule and what lies ahead for him.
Yeah. I mean, so as it's slated right now, the Bucs are in the 3 seed. So the Rams coming back was big, and the Eagles winning. So the Eagles, the way it sits right now, Packers at 1, first round bye. 2 seed would be the Rams, and they would play the Eagles, who hold the 7 seed. Bucs would play the Niners in the 3 versus 6 matchup. So the Bucs will get the Niners at home. Meanwhile, the Cowboys and Cardinals will be playing the 4-5 game. So Niners or Eagles, like, I feel pretty comfortable with that. Of course, there's scenarios that are going to change potentially, right? So,
man, yeah. So for sure, and lots can happen. The Rams play the Niners this week. Can't wait for that game. That's maybe my favorite matchup.
That's huge.
Chargers, Raiders, and Rams, Niners. So all out west there. But after watching this defense, how they've been playing the Tampa defense, you think they want to see that San Fran rush attack right now and how creative that they can get and everything with Debo? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to play someone, obviously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they would have to play us too. So you know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah. So that's all I'm saying is like I still have like I feel like I like it. Like everyone just kind of writing off the Buccaneers. Not like I think everyone's writing them off, but I mean that whole mentality. Like, you know, if we don't have to play, not to look ahead, but if I'm mapping out the playoff picture for the Buccaneers, I like our chances of being in the game, assuming we're able to operate on all cylinders and those guys come back, playing everyone but the Packers. Like that's just who I want to play last. Okay. And a lot of people who cover the Buccaneers have a different approach and they just want the highest seed, whatever. I'm most fearful of the Packers is what I'm saying. And I think the Buccaneers on a good day could absolutely handle the Niners. And I think they could absolutely handle the Rams. And I think they could handle the Cowboys. And I think they could handle the Cardinals. I'm not saying that's what will happen, but I'm just saying, like, if we can't beat those teams, we're not doing anything anyway.
Do you have any is there any sneaking, like, in the back of your head, like there's a path for the Saints to get there and play you guys first week?
There is, right?
Very realistic. They're going to play the Falcons.
I think it's almost impossible because if they were to make it in, the seeding would then align that they wouldn't be playing the Bucs. That I saw that earlier from Greg Auman of The Athletic, who's like the most reliable when it comes to like projecting potential scenarios. He's a super freak at that. Shout out Greg Auman. He's fantastic. I'm most scared of the Packers is what I'm saying. Okay. So I would like to play them as late as possible. And the
Packers and then the Saints.
Saints are a terrible matchup for us as proven. Especially when we're down more receivers because their defense is really good. But like, for example, Scott, the Niners have a brutal secondary. So that's, you know, the Buccaneers aerial attack matches up well there. And you mentioned the pass rushers for the Niners. We also happen to have what I think is absolutely, if not the best offensive line group in the NFL. So if there's anyone equipped to, you know, sustain that strength of the opposition, it would be this Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the continuity and quality of play we've had with our front five there.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's all fair. I just mean the Niners run game, how dynamic Debo is, if they can get out to a lead, you know what I mean? Like there's a path, and you know, maybe it's irrelevant because they have Brady. So then that means the aerial attack is still going to be good no matter what. But this isn't the same receiving core that we've banked on them having for a playoff run, right? It just isn't. It's considerably worse. But like I said, maybe that's all moot because they have Brady. I'm just looking. This is more like a take on just the NFC playoffs are going to be so sick. Like, I can't wait to watch how this all shakes out. And as terrified as I am of Rodgers, I think the Packers are a little bit inflated, just based on like one-score games, fumble luck. I was just reading an article earlier today. Sorry, I can't remember where it was. One-score games, turnover luck, and like expected wins via point differential. They're like 2 or 3 wins higher than they should be. So they almost should be closer in that 11-5 group based on what they've actually done. So anyone that says they're most scared of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, I'm not going to argue with it. Like, I didn't read that article today and think, oh no, like it, you know, it's got to be Green Bay. It's just, you know, they're not as scary as I think it's showing based on their record, because they're going to finish like maybe 14-3 or something incredible like that, right? So just throwing that out there for anyone who was, looking forward to Bucs Packers, a potential matchup. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's good intel there. And it seems like they haven't really, like, I know they've been missing Jair Alexander and Bakhtiari, right? But every team has injuries, but it does still feel, for whatever reason, whether it's a result of the schedule, the opponents, like key positions being hurt, for example, Lamar Jackson being out and still almost losing that game to the Ravens. But it feels like they've dealt with a limited amount of adversity. And I think the Buccaneers,
that's a good way to put it.
You know, and I think the Buccaneers' flaws have been highlighted a little bit more. Just, I don't know why, but maybe it's because, you know, the big issue or the big moment of vulnerability for the Packers was just game 1 of the NFL season when when the expectations weren't quite the same because of all the offseason bullshit with Aaron Rodgers and
plus all the Rodgers vaccine or lack thereof really didn't seem to have a negative immunization. Yeah, exactly. Really didn't seem to have a negative effect on the team like at all, right? So that could have been a big mid-season boiling point or whatever, but they've just been rolling. So yeah.
It's an interesting debate. Obviously, I would like to play the Eagles foremost. Like if we're looking at the teams that are currently slated to be in the postseason.
Did you see their COVID list today?
Is it bad?
It's unreal. It's they put Randall Cunningham on there, Donovan McNabb. They have old Eagles. I saw Brian Westbrook, Brian Dawkins. It's unbelievable. Yeah. But seriously, it's like 12 or 15 like guys that you could actually name on the Eagles. Now, they can all clear protocols and be good because that's actually the Saturday night game. So it's one day earlier, but it's because it came out now honestly, I can't keep it straight with what needs to happen in order for someone to be allowed to play. But they said that they might be able to play in that Saturday game against Dallas. So pretty huge. They need to win. I'm almost positive they need to win to get in. Yeah, we'll see.
It will be interesting. And while we're comparing, the Packers, because again, that's the team that scares me the most. I mean, that's not to say we're gonna have a cakewalk. Bucs are gonna have a battle just to make it through, right? But past their first game, I'm not denying that at all. But if we're nitpicking matchups here, that's the team I'm most scared of.
Fair.
But in terms of the comparisons here, it seems like an apt time to just kind of discuss the MVP discussion, because at this point, you'd think it's a 2-horse race, but is it really? Because the prevailing talk in NFL circles, Vegas included, last I checked, is that it's Aaron Rodgers' MVP award to lose, which would of course be his second in as many years. And I think it's hard to argue with Rodgers, especially when the Packers do look like the best team by record in the NFL. But there's certainly a case to be made for Tom Brady, and I know Bucs fans are passionate about that for the most part. And you two guys not being Bucs fans, but just being football fans in general, I'd love to hear it. Let me just mention a couple of the obvious stats that would be supportive of Brady. First of all this talk about the Packers being so dominant and the Bucs struggling so much, they're separated by one win-loss, right? The Bucs have one less win. Okay, so I don't know if the best player on the best team is necessarily valid to make up. Should one game really?
I agree.
They should be on equal grounds. They should be on equal grounds there.
The Bucs aren't 9-8 with these Brady numbers. They're 12-4 and Green Bay's 13-3. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean the only other name, obviously Kupp and actually fuck it, we're not going to talk about Kupp, Jonathan Taylor, or even Joe Burrow right now. I want to talk about Brady and Rodgers. Brady has 1,200 more passing yards. He's first in the league in passing yards. Rodgers is 9th. Brady has 40 touchdown passes, also leading the league, which is 5 more than Rodgers. So those are just he was the PFF #1 quarterback by a wide margin. Not like PFF matters though, because their shit is out of whack sometimes. But I'm just saying it's another metric or analytic model that favors Brady by a significant margin over Aaron Rodgers. So that's just a couple of the things in Brady's favor. What do you guys think? Obviously, Scott, I know you were born in Vegas, raised in Vegas.
Oh my goodness, that would actually explain a lot.
So are you siding with Vegas? Is it Aaron Rodgers? Or is there not enough talk about Brady? Who's the MVP, boys?
I'm shocked at the odds. Just based on the counting stats alone and the fact that it's, it's not like it's Ryan Tannehill putting up these same numbers that Brady has. You know what I mean? It's the guy. It's Brady and Rodgers are the two guys. And with those stats discrepancies and the one win difference, I mean, unless I'm missing something here, for it to be -400 for Rodgers and +600 for Brady, I'm just surprised at that. And also, how many people are pro Rodgers right now, just as a guy, right? That matters when it comes to this. When I looked at the odds this morning just to check after each week, seeing -400 and +600, I don't get it. Maybe Rodgers should be a slight favorite, but I was thinking more minus 150 and then plus 200 for Brady or something like that, right, Bo? Like, are you with me on that?
Yeah, I think it's like, the gap is way super exaggerated for Vegas, and I think they do that just to try to course money out of people. It's a much closer race, but I think that
so
it's
too.
probably still Rodgers if it was me, like, gun to my head today. Brady's been great, but it's the losses. It's the few losses and the almost loss to the Jets are the things that people are going to bring up about it. Even though he has that game-winning drive to seal it, it shouldn't. We all know it shouldn't have come to that against the Jets.
But let's say the Packers lose
38. Packers lose 38-3 to the Saints. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was like the one pass game.
9-0 might somehow be worse.
Yeah,
honestly, like it might weirdly be worse. I know.
Screw you.
But seriously, if Rodgers doesn't play this week, because it doesn't, like, why would he? They're playing the Lions. If they somehow lose to the Lions, and the Bucs, take care of the Panthers, but Brady throws up another 275 and 3 touchdowns or something like that. Like, I don't know. I honestly feel like I can't see the forest through the trees here. Like, it doesn't quite add up to me at all.
Right. Like, at least it should be a little closer.
That's what I
should be. It should be closer.
And I mean, shit, what was I gonna say? Oh, is it just voter fatigue? And I like Brady hasn't been MVP for a while, but like it just because of the name, like, is that you know what I'm saying? Like Tom Brady,
like if like this guy won the Super Bowl last year, this guy.
It seems weird to say that
revenge tour, kind of. Yeah,
it seems weird to say it because Rodgers would be his second in a row, but it just feels like people. I don't know.
Who isn't tired of Rodgers?
Dennis Long Jr. brings up a great point about the interception disparity.
What
Dennis
is the
Long
number?
Jr. So I just want to. What is the number? I want to verify.
I think Rodgers only has like 4, right?
Yeah, he barely has any. Brady's thrown a bunch.
I don't know.
Find out exactly.
If it's obviously that hurts.
Yeah, offensive scheme matters too. Why is this not easy for me to see? Four picks only for Rodgers, and I know Brady's at least 10. But like, really, like, I don't know. No different than Brady throwing more touchdowns, though. Brady has 12. Brady has 40-12 is his ratio. Still a pretty damn nice ratio. The stats overall, though, I think it's pretty clear they still favor Brady, but there's some infatuation. I don't know. Maybe it, like, when you watch Aaron Rodgers, I will say he looks goddamn surgical out there in his own right. It's super fun to watch him throw. But maybe watching Brady, man, you guys see that throw to Gronk? I retweeted.
Image of it from
my basement. He's unreal. His arm talent is berserk. Like, it's absolutely nuts. Still, it's gotten. People were talking about him his last year in New England, like he had nothing left in that arm. And I think it was Ben Solak, formerly of the Draft Network, who tweeted he's a top 3 arm talent in the league. So I retweeted that. Make sure you follow us at Bucs Banter on Twitter if you're on there. But more importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. But it's nice to see people are like, if you're not, you got to get over who it is and what you know about him. If you're just watching him this year, if there's no name on the back, no colored jerseys, and you're watching this guy throw, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
really impressive.
Yeah, you'd be like, who's that 28-year-old that's just slinging it?
Well, and you almost forget that he's like supernaturally good. It's like, oh yeah, Brady, he's really good, but you forget the actual wow about it, like the wow talented plays that he makes, right? Because I don't know, just because he's always like in the right play and just throwing people open and it's less flashy, but he can absolutely do some incredible stuff with the ball. Like that's how you can't be as good as he is and not be able to do that, right? Like, he's unreal. He's so good.
I also think more specifically, I think there's an infatuation, if we're going by the eye test, where football fans, whether they like to acknowledge it or not, are more enamored with a guy who throws on the run. Like, it's more exciting because when a quarterback rolls out, you don't know if he's looking to run. You don't know. It just creates a certain level of excitement. Brady never does that. He stands strong in that pocket. He's a true pocket passer.
There is like a certain level of excitement when Mahomes or Rodgers rolls to their right, and it's like, wow, wonder where the ball's gonna end up.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can't see down the field on TV, right? And it's like, oh, is Mahomes, are they just gonna like drop one in over top of the linebackers in between the safeties? Or like Mahomes against Cincinnati this week, throw it 70 yards on the run, drop a dime to Tyreek, who just like literally dropped it. But yeah, I think you're probably right, Call. Like there's probably something to that for sure.
There's something to it as well, maybe on Rodgers's to Rodgers's point, the guys that he's doing it with, even though where Brady's receiving core has gone to now, he's done it with 2 top 10 guys in the league, or 3 top 10 guys in the league, I would say. But between Evans
AB,
and
don't forget, Bo, AB was out, and then
he
came back, and Godwin's out. So really, he's only had
true
aside from the start.
But like he had, like Rodgers has Devontae Adams, who I think is the best wide receiver in the league, but he has Devontae Adams, and that's it. Robert Tonyan even got hurt for him. And Aaron Jones was hurt as well too. So I think when they look at it, they're just like, okay, that roster isn't as good as this roster, and this guy keeps his guys in it as much, if not more so, than Brady does.
Valid point. It's a great discussion, and I mean, we'll see, right? At least the consensus seems to be that Rodgers has it locked up, which just doesn't sit right with me. And I know Bucs fans feel the same way, so it's nice to hear that both you guys agree it should be a closer race. But maybe it's not. That's not the case. Like, we'll see what the voters really do, and recency bias affects these things as well. So maybe, even like Brady still put up 410 yards and 3 touchdowns yesterday, right?
So good.
He you know what? No, if you watch that tape, boys, like Brady was dialed. Like he was throwing darts. Okay, like guys, Evans didn't look himself. He was spoon feeding Gronk. He was manipulating the defense. Like he played fine. The running back issue is actually something we need to touch on, because
I was going to say, I saw your tweet about Le'Veon Bell.
Was I right, or is it true or not?
Yeah, I saw some of the highlights, and I'm just like,
yeah, man,
what is going? Like, I think he had one highlight, and I was just like, who is that guy?
That was when I tweeted it. And for anyone who's not following, I just tweeted. I said, I know that Le'Veon Bell is respected for being a patient runner, but he is so damn slow too. Like,
he's
got a lot of
testing my patience watching him. It's unbelievable. Like, someone calls him methodical. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm methodical when I get like something to do around the house and I don't have any idea how to do it. AKA, I'm slow, and that's what Le'Veon Bell looks out there. Just no burst, no juice.
But you know what? He might be our only healthy running back as of this moment, because Rojo apparently left with an ankle injury. I don't know if it's his head. I don't know if it's his heart. I don't know what it is with Rojo.
His heart. It's definitely his heart.
Rojo rolled his ankle stepping out of bounds during a warm-up drill.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Practicing stepping out of bounds, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Now, if anyone's joining us for the first time, I was team Rojo even coming into this year. I thought he should be the guy over Fournette, so I got to eat those apples. But I tell you, this team needs him back. Apparently, according to Bruce Arians, Giovanni Bernard may be eyeing a return in the not-so-distant future. That would be huge. Keyshawn Vaughn's looked pretty good these last 2 games. He's hurt.
Yeah. As
mentioned, Rojo's hurt. So right now we got Le'Veon Bell. Like, the injuries this year have been true. Like, you guys are being, again, objective football fans.
It's been incredible. Insane.
Yeah, our first year, like, following them to like this level with you, and like I can't remember, like, the only other team that could be more upset about injuries is the Ravens.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, but then look at what the Bucs have done.
Yeah.
Right. No, exactly. Hey, I mean, they didn't lose their quarterback like Baltimore did, obviously. But 12-4 with everything that's happened, and I can only imagine. I hope Bucs fans aren't feeling too spoiled or entitled or anything, because this is as good as it gets in the NFL, man. Like, they win the Super Bowl and come back and be really good amidst some a weird COVID year again. All these injuries, obviously, team turnover like during the season as a result of these injuries, and they're just
turnover in game.
Yeah, they're just, and they're one of the absolute Super Bowl favorites, right? So just, it does not stay this way. these NFL teams have like a 5-year plan, which is so ridiculous because it changes as soon as one thing goes wrong, right? And it like everything gets blown up again. So just I've seen some comments in today's episode and previous podcasts where people are they're loving it. And it's so nice to just have the Bucs win or even close games, right? Like nail biters that are exciting. So I hope the general vibe from the fan base is, wow, well, this is sweet. Let's go win again. And you know what? We're really good and we can do it. So
maybe this is all just a ploy by Brady. Maybe, he wants some of those expectations off of them so they kind of can assume that underdog role and slide under the radar. I'm just ready for the playoffs, man, at this point. Like, I just want to go, once everyone's healthy, I just want to get on one game, advance, see what we can do. Some hilarious comments. People in the comments are doing a great job tonight. Appreciate all of our new viewers and listeners. Shout out to Russell Schukert. I hope I'm saying that right. Man. Said he's going to subscribe on YouTube. Appreciate that, my dude. Again, if you enjoy Buccaneers content, NFL content, tons of draft talk, and lots of betting angles throughout the season, then this is your place to at least give us a subscription, support the show. I saw a hilarious comment from Robert McClure where he said, or no, it was Russell who said, talking about Le'Veon, said his Bell's got up and went. So his get up got up and went. I thought that was good.
Robert got up and went and tried to fight Jake Paul or whatever he was saying.
Exactly.
Good job, Le'Veon.
Robert Candelario asked on Facebook, when is Fournette coming back? We're not going to see Fournette before the postseason.
Yeah, they put him on
best case scenario.
On IR.
Hamstring, so hopefully he'll be back. Injuries and COVID have crushed the league. Dennis on Facebook says, no doubt about that. But I still think if you were to compare some of the guys going down and the timeliness of their injuries, I would say the Bucs are still in one of the most, what's the opposite of advantageous? Disadvantaged rosters out there. So I'm just trying to sneak through some of these comments. Rich 0665 watching on YouTube, bringing some positivity. Remember, fellas, just a couple of years ago, we would have loved to just make the playoffs, just like what Scott was just saying. Amen to that. So tons of interesting narratives and storylines throughout the NFL. Unfortunately, the Antonio Brown one was really the fuel to the NFL media's fire today. And that was bigger news than the Buccaneers coming back down multiple scores to the Jets on the road. But at this point, who cares? Notch that W. Only got 4 losses. Let's make sure we're trending in the right direction from a health and performance perspective entering the playoffs. Best with what we got.
What a team we get to talk about here. The Super Bowl, the defending Super Bowl champs with Tom Brady. Total, anything can happen with Antonio Brown, which actually proved to be the case. All these nail-biting games. Like, I'm really glad you weren't a Bears fan, Collin. You know what I mean? Like, and we had to talk about the Bears every week, or heaven forbid the Giants or something like that, right? Like, there's always stuff happening, and they win, which makes it so much more fun.
Win or lose, we booze. Mark,
that's tatted on your back.
That's literally my tattoo, buddy.
Mark gets it.
Mark, well done. This is the big thing, man. Defense is getting healthy, at least it seems. I know Shaq Barrett's out. JPP's been hurt all year, but that's one guy I want to say who impressed me yesterday was Antoine Winfield. Anytime we talk defense, and no matter how bad the Buccaneers play as a unit, Antoine Winfield Jr. saved 2 touchdowns yesterday, single-handedly. Guy does not seem to miss tackles. He understands how to wrap up. I love him and Whitehead, man. That's one of the best safety duos in the NFL this season. It's just when our team – again, the injury shit, I'm just sick of saying it, but I have to at points. Let's not forget, like, judging our secondary has been a struggle this year, but we have 2 incredibly promising, talented safeties. And Whitehead all of a sudden looks like a major priority this offseason. And with Antonio Brown not being another guy we need to try to retain his services, maybe that frees up a little cap space to re-sign someone like Jordan Whitehead. I saw someone in the comments earlier talking about Ryan Jensen. Yeah, Jensen's an absolute dog. We all love Jensen. This whole offensive line unit, I'm very fond of. I don't know how you couldn't be as a Bucs fan. Thank you, Young Vocal. I loved Anthony Nelson play yesterday as well. Thank you, my guy, because I was tweeting about it yesterday. Anthony Nelson stepped in super well. He looked better than I think JPP has looked in any single game this year. So him and Tryon Troyanka held it down yesterday. I know Joe Tryon, and I'm glad that my sports book didn't have it open because I was looking to put serious money on Tryon to register a sack yesterday, but they didn't have that prop up because he didn't get one before, and this would have been his second consecutive start. So I was like, all right, Tryon's going to put Zach Wilson on the ground. He didn't, but Joe Tryon Troyanka still played really well in terms of his run stopping. He's making tackles, playing really strong in the run game. So that's a guy whose performance will continue to improve. He's a guy who Bucs fans are going to get real familiar with and appreciate for years to come. I think this will be the last year we have JPP. So to see a guy like Anthony Nelson step up how he did yesterday, he looked super active. His motor, he has strong motor. He's long, doing really well. So that was great to see. So a couple things worth highlighting, but we need to see Shaq Barrett, Levante David back.
Yes.
Now, okay, we've talked MVP. We've summarized the game versus the Jets. We've talked plenty of Antonio Brown. Discussed the NFC playoff picture. I also, thankfully, of course, I got a 2 TV setup, so I was happy to be able to watch that Chiefs-Bengals game. That was what a game, man. What a game. God damn, Joe Burrow is so legit. I love it. Him and Jamar Chase is just crazy. It's so fun to watch.
They just know. It was Romo. But they're saying, if the pressure's coming, then that means it's one-on-one on the outside. And guess what? Throw it to Jamar. He's just running some sort of go route up the sideline, and that's not just something you do. That's like a high percentage beater against the blitz like that, right? And they just kept doing it. I didn't hate Kansas City trying to get there. They just seemed to never get home, or Burrow was just releasing it just in time, and then putting just enough air under the ball so Chase could run under it, kind of thing, right? It was special to watch. That was unreal. And then they did enough on defense to limit Kansas City's possessions in the second half, and obviously limit their points. They only scored 3 points. So what a game. And really one of the more bizarre 2-minute sequences I've ever seen to end a football game.
Crazy, dude. For one, KC should have just let them score at that point.
Yeah.
But then, because they stopped them the first 3 times, then it's okay. I guess you do try to play it out, but then there's the 2 penalties. But they should have let them score on first down. You're down 7 with 1:50 left or something like that. And I think they could have let him score on a play on the other side of the 2-minute warning, which is
it was below 2 minutes. Yeah, man, for sure.
But I couldn't believe it. You're not going to stop them 4 times. And I don't even just let them score. It was crazy.
And then I thought, I know Romo was saying it too, but at that point, I would have kicked the field goal absolutely once the clock was that low. I would have kicked that field goal. But anyway, it ended up.
Wait, what do you mean after the on the first fourth down?
After the first fourth, once they got rewarded, and then I would have.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, but they went for it again. So that was it was an interesting. Watching Zach Taylor, because he looked truly indecisive about what to do, because he felt like he'd already committed to going for it on 4th, so he felt compelled he had to do it again. I feel like when he was rewarded,
it's like you fall in love with the
when play. When it was replay the 4th down.
And then there was another pass interference which allowed them to just spike the ball and then kick a game winner from shorter than an original extra point as the time expired. That was crazy. If you're Kansas City, what gives you a better chance to win? Let them score. You have Mahomes. There's a pretty good chance you're going to go down and score and then take your chance in overtime. I thought that was wild, super wild. Couple tough penalties on KC, I thought, as well on that last drive. Tough pass interference and I guess they called it unnecessary roughness on a tackle on Jamar Chase. Dude, if the guy weighs 40 more pounds than you, I don't know. It's
going to be unnecessarily rough no matter what.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. It probably by the letter of the law was unnecessary roughness, but if you're just watching it, it didn't seem that bad. And like Chase didn't get up and beg for a penalty or anything. I thought that was interesting. If anyone could tell, I might have had Kansas City in that game.
Oh yeah, I took the Bengals when they were down 2 scores, so I was feeling myself yesterday.
Oh wow, yeah, I would.
Yeah,
it's a little heater yesterday.
Yeah, taking a team down 2 scores against the Chiefs is pretty good, my friend.
Well, you know how I don't want to use the term aroused, but if there's I am for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, so I figured
you used it before, yeah.
Young vocal, love the Bucs and from New Orleans. Imagine how much heat I get. Love that. Love that. Bucs fans love to get some representation down that way. He goes on to say, I'm late to the podcast. Did you guys agree with the Jets going for it on 4th down at the end of the game? I mean, I feel like the Jets it's better for them to lose games at this point. So for them,
that was house money. Yeah.
It's perfect for them to do it. I was,
and like give Zach Wilson, give him the confidence to go out and do it, right? I don't know. That's fine.
Fine decision. Terrible play call to try and quarterback sneak it with Zach Wilson. That's how I feel about it. Fine decision. Poor strategy in terms of how to approach it.
100% agree.
We've only got a couple minutes, boys. I don't know if either of you have anything from any of the other games around the league that happened yesterday. We got a Monday Night Football game, probably Big Ben's last game at Heinz Field. Going to kick off soon. Anything else you want to talk about?
I got a couple. I think this one at least definitely pertains to Tampa as well. Was Cards Cowboys? Cards were kind of dead men walking into this game for losers of 3 straight. Kind of really gacked that one away on Christmas against the Colts. Just a truly
dacked it away.
Yeah, well, but then they beat them. They beat Dallas, and I think Dallas still doesn't have a win against a team with a winning record, which is damning, right? Like, I mean, you can only play who you can play, but that's no good. That's not a good sign.
And they lost Gallup to an ACL today too. So that's
contract year. Just like Godwin.
That's so awful.
Sucks, man. That sucks.
Yeah.
But they're looking less threatening. Both those teams are looking less threatening than I thought, let's say 5 weeks ago. I thought they were I really thought you could throw those top 5 NFC teams in a hat and any of them could come out. I don't necessarily think that anymore. I think there's a drop off between Green Bay, the Rams, and Tampa, and then those 2 teams that played, Dallas and Arizona. So, that was good for Arizona to pick up that win. But interesting game for sure.
And as it stands, those teams would meet again in the 4 or 5 round. If it were to happen today, things could change. But
sign me up for that, man. Let's see a Kyler in Texas. Like, that's awesome.
But Dallas's offense has really sputtered of late. And you're right, Cap. Like both those teams at points this year looked like they could have been the best team in the NFC, especially the Cards, obviously. So
when Dallas's offense struggles, I'm at a bit of a loss. You know what I mean? Like they got everything you need. They got a play caller that's very well respected. I think Dak is really, really good. Like you know what? Maybe it's as good as excellent, but as bad is kind of a tough watch. And right, so that could be it. But we'll see. They get that game against the Eagles on Saturday, so that should be interesting. But big takeaways. There's a lot that happened. Great win for the Raiders on the road at the Colts. They played awesome. They're good, man. I really like Derek Carr. I think he's solid, and they're doing all this without Darren Waller. Thought that was interesting. The Rams,
that wasn't even their best game. That wasn't even Carr's best game.
No.
Derek Carr's been hated on unfairly.
He's good.
Look at the situations he's dealt with. And he just shuts up, works hard. Like he's even handled the Gruden situation really well. Clearly, someone he admired. And like he just seems to be a really good teammate and leader. And I think when Mayock and those guys and Gruden took over, they probably were looking to replace him. But sure enough, he won them over too. So I like that you're bringing up some Derek Carr's name and associating it with something positive for once.
For sure, man. Stop saying he sucks, people. Like, you want to see shitty quarterbacks in the NFL, turn on any number of games, and you're going to see them. And it's certainly not the one that Derek Carr is playing in. So just ease up, all right? Throw on Andy Dalton, Mike Glennon, and then tell me. But yeah, so that was a nice win. Thought the Rams gutted out a big win against Baltimore there to come back at the end. Weird game. Looked like they were slop fest, kind of gross, but that was a good win for the Rams.
I was going to bring that one up too. It seems like Stafford's fallen in love with Odell, which is scary for going into the playoffs.
It is. He's thrown a lot of picks though. He's thrown like 5 picks in his last couple.
Super sloppy with the ball.
But yeah, OBJ looks to be a force again.
Picking
Stafford's
balls out of the air.
Stafford's always going to sling it, and it's just, does he have enough? Can he do it in a non-killer way for enough games to get them to the Super Bowl? I think, right? Like where he doesn't have the back-breaking interception, because he's good for one of those most games. Unfortunately, as talented as he is, I trust him. I think I trust the Rams. I'm not gonna whatever. I think they're good, and I think Stafford's really good. But yeah, man, I just all right. This week is interesting. Let's get to the playoffs in both conferences. I can't wait to see how it all shakes out.
Well said. I agree. So on that note, I think we're going to shake our way on out of here. For anyone who joined us later, we talked about the Bucs 28-24 victory over the Jets. A comeback win. Wasn't pretty, but they got the job done, which has been a theme along with the injuries for this team this year. And we obviously talked about Antonio Brown. I gave you an inside scoop direct from the driver. Word on the street is AB was dissatisfied with not enough touches. So he was getting pissed off and jealous of Gronk more or less, but we'll see what really what smoke turns to be coming from fire in terms of getting some credible reports as they come out. But who cares? He's gone. So we got to focus. Cyril Grayson's our guy now. Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller. These are the guys we got to focus on. The guys who are in-house, want to be a part of this team and want to make a run at it with the GOAT.
Just like we all thought at the beginning of the year. Cyril Grayson.
That's right.
Yeah. Three-headed.
So anyway, tons of great contributions from a bunch of new viewers and listeners. So really appreciate that. I'd be remiss if I didn't kindly ask for you to head over to our YouTube channel, Bucs Banter. Give us a subscription, and I promise you won't regret it. Love to involve the fans and listeners and anyone who gives a shit about the NFL, because we sure do. So thanks a lot, and we'll be connecting again next week. So be sure to join us then. Until next time, go Bucs.